Hi there, you're listening to the Guitar Speak podcast, the show produced in Sydney, Australia, where I speak to leading guitarists and guitar figures from all around the world. My name is Matt Wakeling, and thank you so much for joining me for episode number 93. Now today I speak to the unbelievably cool, unbelievably legendary Doug Wimbish, bass player for Living Colour, probably first made his name with bands like Tackhead and extensive touring with Mick Jagger, which actually ties into the Living Colour story a little bit. It was Wimbish who suggested that Jagger check out Living Colour early in the band's career, which ended up helping them score a record deal. And of course their debut album Vivid was the following result. Came out in 1988, so this year we're celebrating 30 years of that record. Hey, quick story, the first time I heard of Living Colour was in 1988 when I received my first copy of Guitar Player magazine with Vernon Reid on the cover. My very first GP. I had no idea who Vernon Reid was, but I read the story. It was Joe Gore's legendary cover story about Vernon Reid, and what a great article it was. So I learnt all about Cult of Personality before I heard it, but when I heard it, it blew my mind like the rest of us. Such a great song, such a great album. The rest, as they say, is history. They became one of my favourite bands. And in 1993, Doug Wimbish joined Living Colour for the recording of their third studio album, Stain. Not long after that, they made their first trip to Australia, and I was at that show, and without a doubt, it is still one of the greatest shows I've ever been to. Sonically, in a performative sense, the whole thing was brilliant. So it was cool to bring that up, and Doug actually remembered that gig. He remembered the venue, which was pretty cool. It was great to talk about a couple of really important milestones for Living Colour. This year's the 30th anniversary of the debut album Vivid, and 25 years since Doug himself joined the band and recorded that album Stain I mentioned earlier. We also spoke about the latest Living Colour album, Shade, which was released in 2017, and that is a killer record, classic Living Colour in every sense, just full of urgency and intensity and swagger. We talk about that record a lot too. Alright, let's just get straight to it. Here's my conversation with Doug Wimbish.
Hello.
Hi, is that Doug?
Yes, it is.
Hi, Doug. It's Matt Wakeling from the Guitar Speak podcast in Sydney. How are you?
Hey, Matt. I'm mellow as a cello right about now. All is good.
Good to hear. Good to hear. Hey, thank you so much for your time. It's great to speak to you, and we're really excited about Living Colour coming back to Australia in December this year.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it. Another trip, thanks to the lovely fans of Australia, since we were there not too long ago, and then they reached out and said we'd like to get you guys to come back, and the promoters listened, and here we are coming, so we're thankful.
Fantastic. Doug, I actually remember seeing you guys on your first Australian tour. It was in 93. It was just following up the Stain record, and it was one of the best shows I've ever been to, still to date.
Wow. Yeah, that was a lot of fun, man. I remember that gig. That was pretty crazy. Where did we play? At the Holborn Pavilion, if I remember right.
That's exactly right, the Hordern Pavilion.
Am I saying it right?
Yeah, Hordern Pavilion, that's it, yeah. So this year marks 30 years since Living Colour released Vivid, and I know you'll be playing highlights from that record on this tour, but I guess on a personal level for you, it's 25 years since the Stain record came out as well, your first album with the band, so that's another great milestone.
Yeah, they're all starting to roll. We're starting to go around the sun at a very rapid speed now. 30 years, 25 years, 20 years, it's all accelerating right now. And I look back and I'm like, wow, time flies, as they say.
Yeah.
But, just from looking at it from the, look, it's been an amazing journey, from a little backstory. Vernon and I have known each other since the early 80s, before he put Living Colour together. He's come hang out at our loft in New York City and dreaming about what he wanted to do. And, we've been mates for many, many years. Yeah. And now fast forward, here we are, we're in a band. I've been in Living Colour now since early 92. Mm-hmm. And it's just time flies, man. Before you know it, it's like boom, boom. But all that being said, it's like from Vivid to Time's Up, and then Biscuits, and then my entry into the landscape. You know, it's I'm just thankful that things aligned the way they did. You know, with any acceptance into one organization, you have to end up finding less time to do other things and previous things that you've done. So and also when you're bringing in a new band member into an organization, it creates another dialogue and landscape as well. The reality of it is we're still here, and here we are talking on the phone, and that's the sign to me of a true champagne. Over the years, we've managed to continue to have this conversation going on sonically, and we're still in the game. So from my entrance from Stain, now here we are. What is it? You said 25 years of Stain?
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yes,
it
right.
Is.
Yep.
It's remarkable that we're even having that conversation. And we just released a record last year of Shade, which realistically I think that's probably like for Living Color as the brand, that's probably like the sixth. Maybe I'm wrong. The sixth album that the band's really done. Well, let's count them out. There's Vivid. Yep. There's Time's Up. There's Biscuit. You can include that, but
the EP.
That's the EP.
Yeah.
They were not. Let's say a full record. Vivid, Time's Up, and Stain, right? And then there was a break. Yep. And then there is Kaleidoscope, The Chair in the Doorway, and Shade. Am I right, or am I missing anything?
I think you got them all.
That's it.
I think you got them all. Yeah.
All right.
So six full players.
And that's not that. That's some might say you could maybe you look at some other bands' discographies and there's many records that came out, and we're one of the bands that we don't have 30 albums that we released. We have these six and seven, with Biscuits and other maybe combinations of novels, of sonic novels that we put out basically at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot that goes. Every band is dealing with the reality of you put a record out. What do you follow it up with? What's the next thing going to be? How do you find a way to retain yourself? How do you find a way to continue a narrative without it being diverted from success? And that being, you cut a hit song. A lot of times people would like for you to continue to cut the same song over and over again.
Sure.
Living Color has been one of these bands that has, in my opinion, without thinking about it, just play from the hearts, man. Play the music, play what we feel. Don't get tangled up. And we're already tangled up enough as men and living in this world as it is. At least when it comes to the music, we've managed to keep it unfiltered. We didn't get influenced by what's happening at the time or the moment, because right now, everything's moving forward. Everything's moving in motion forward, and it's already the past when we first started talking 5 minutes ago. You know what I mean? It's like it's always moving forward. So, and that's how I look at it. I think that the fact that we've done these 6 records, and if you deep dive into all of those 6 albums, so to say, then you'll find a narrative that runs consistent through it, not just through the songs, but through the performances and the aggression and the restraints and the narrative and the desire and the love and the balance. And all of these things go into trying to make a record. You know what I mean? Just trying to find that sonic lane as a player, and wrestling it out. What's gonna happen, and what's not gonna happen, and surrendering to what is best for what's going on. That's what making records are all about, and that's what being in a band is all about. And those 6 records that we've done so far, that I may say, from Vivid on, they're great records in my opinion. It's been something that people, there's a group of folks that love Living Color, and their energy is what helps keep us going right now. Like folks like yourself, the Australian pop fans, great fans. We can't do it without the fans. If it wasn't for the fans, we'd be probably at I'd probably be back in London watching reruns of Neighbours on TV. Who the hell knows what's going on? But it's the fans that keep you. It's the fan. It's the community that keeps you that keeps you going. You know what? This is the reason why I wake up every day and I walk over to my bass and pick it up, because it's not going to walk over to me. Or I wake up, I look at the bass in the corner, and I hit the remote control, and I start going into, whatever. So no, man, it's the music that is more powerful than anything. And what we've done is, we're not the architects, we're recipients. There's a lot of bands that we're influenced by. So from Vivid, and then from my entry to Stain to where we are right now, it's been a great journey. And I think I fall into the landscape as a fan and also as a bandmate. And that's how I look at what's been happening. It's been a great journey.
Yeah, cool. That's a good place to be, a fan and a band member. You talk about the lineal journey. I've been playing Shade since it came out. Great record. I want to ask you a bit about that in a moment. But last night, just leading up to speaking with you this morning, I pulled out the old records. I haven't played Stain for a long time, and it knocked me out again. It was great to hear it again. And what impressed me about all of those records, there is a sonic footprint that goes through the whole thing. So when you're riffing out big fat unison lines with Vernon on the new record, it sounds like Living Colour to me, with a big backbeat from Will Calhoun and obviously Corey's vocals. Now, can I ask you about the new record? Shade came out 2017. You got involved with the production. In fact, you've been getting involved more and more with the production. You got Andre Beltz involved. Do you want to speak about his involvement in the record?
Well, Andre and I are friends from before I even got in Living Colour. As a matter of fact, I met Andre about a few months right after right before I got the call from Will to start this journey in 91. So Dre and I have been mates from many, many moons, and we've done a lot of recordings together. Over the years, it's also Andre Betts that's on WTFF, which is on the Stain record. I was trying to get him involved, even in very early stages of my existence with Living Colour. So you'll see that's Dre on WTFF, and that was kind of like the entrance of Dre and my association, and also trying to softly bring in sort of, we're both outsiders at that time into something that there's already plays and a narrative going on, and kind of not kind of rippling the frequency in a sense, but also adding to the frequency of where this band can also go sonically, because the sonic door has always been open with this band. So it's never been it's not been something where it's the band's playing some jazz now, the band's playing this. No, we've managed to kind of keep a good balance. So Dre coming in started a long time ago, but then he kind of revisited again, even with even when we did Kaleidoscope, I think that Dre was around, maybe, I was trying to get him involved. But then when we did The Chair in the Doorway, we started doing a few things over at Dre's. And I was really trying to get him involved because I knew that he had the right sensibility, and he knew how to deal with the personalities of the band and be able to get people into a different, not necessarily a different frequency, but just out of your own comfort zone. You know what I mean? And doing something that might be a little bit different. And then in the process of doing that, when you do something that you're not comfortable with, then you become comfortable, then you can put that off, you can check that off your bucket list, of your sonic bucket list. But Dre came in, and then it was challenging because the band was in a space where, we're trying to, we're dealing with some like all bands, you're dealing with changes of what was going on at the time, between business changes and yada yada yada, and schedule changes, and you're trying to get everybody in the room at the same time is the biggest challenge. But that being said, Dre was, we were able to get together and just try to map out a way to get the ball rolling, and it worked out great. A lot of the things we did in Shade were done right at the line of scrimmage. So it wasn't a situation where it's like, bring in your songs, we're going to go through some stuff. No, it was like, run a click. All right, Vernon, what you got? Play a riff. All right, Doug, what are you doing? Okay, Will's not here right now. Put a drum machine on. Let's start to do some things and make some stuff happen. So if I look back at how certain songs were created, you know, a song like Come On, for example, was just click. And, you know, I was playing through my bass through I got to go through a slicer pedal. I got it synced up to Pro Tools. So you press play, and I have a slicer pedal that can put pulses out. So I started playing some stuff. The producer heard it. He was like, that's dope. Run a click. Let's pop this down. So I just kind of, ran a pass down where it was, just kind of like, writing as I'm playing, kind of like. And that's pretty much what took place with how Come On was created was started from not the whole band playing, was a click, and myself and the producer. I don't even think anybody was there in the studio but the producer and I. And that's feeling something that might have been right. Maybe Corey was there and he was like, yeah, you know what I mean? But things happen in pieces. And then, something like, say, Who's That? We were like, let's do a blues kind of riff, and then Vernon, what you got? And he's playing the riff around and, doing some things till it settles, and then we play it. So we kind of did it a different way this time. We didn't, wasn't, and then some things we were all in the room banging stuff out. But in order to be able to get everybody to kind of like sonically hear where Dre was coming from, it had to be done in a way that we had to piece things together so a person can hear where you're going, as opposed to trying to get everybody to understand where you're going when you're not clear about where you're going with it. The only person that's really clear, really, that's kind of like, I got it, I understand what you guys need to do, is the producer. So the thing we needed to do was get a couple of good clips to give us, a place, a good starting point. Those starting points started to take shape when we did Come On, started to take shape when we did Who Shot You, which was a song that, that came from Soundcheck. Corey used to do the raps and Biggie Smalls at Soundcheck. And then the producer was like, you know what else you guys got? Maybe we should do something, let's do a hip-hop song or whatever. So through conversations came a result. And that's how they came, you know what I mean? Then when we got a piece of the record done, and then it was like, you know what, we got this vibe, right, but let's go in and let's top it off. Let's go in and now the band, let's go in and do what we do. And that's when we cut Patterns in Time and, Glass Teeth and some of the more harder stuff. Okay. That was kind of like, that's kind of how they came to be. So it was, it was, this record was done different than other records, but at the same time, it has more of a root and theme of like a Vivid, like from back in the day. And it's amazing how we were able to pull it off. But I worked very hard on this record, very, very hard with Andre Best. And just, putting the pieces together, trying to, find a way how to, just keeping it all together on this, on my side of the, not just bass playing, but just keeping things kind of organized. But we managed to get it, we pulled it off. And I love the record. I think it's a great record.
Man, it's a super strong record. All those tracks. Come On's got all that great ear candy. Who's That? There's talk. We've only got a couple of moments, but if I can quickly ask, Who's That? You mentioned with that blues riff. There's talk of the blues being an underpinning theme of this record. I mean, Preaching Blues, Who's That? They're structurally a blues song, but aesthetically there's a blues that runs through. I mean, if you pay attention to any Living Colour record, you can hear blues elements and inflections. But what do you take of that, the blues influence on this last record?
Well, the whole idea of what we did was how blues is almost like dark matter. Like in the sky, you look up in the sky at night, and it's all dark matter, but it's all very real. And blues is like, in my opinion, is the dark matter of music right now. It's the DNA that's in a lot of music. And through conversation, you start to think about it and listen to it. You listen to a soul song, listen to a funk song, a rock song, even let's take an EDM or a dance song where it's just pulsing or it's just going from one beat. Maybe and I look at like the different vowels that goes into some of the blues, you know what I mean? Whether, let's just say, one vowel is the rhythm, maybe another vowel is kind of like the storyline, another vowel might be the the sequence of chord changes and stuff like that, and how things align. So what we set out to do was how to not do a traditional, like, okay, we're going to do a blues record and all the songs are going to be really super blues bass and, and familiar. What about looking at the DNA of the different styles of music that's out right now and deconstructing it and finding a way to connect the blues through a narrative and a group of songs? How do you pull that all together? How do you make a rock song fit with a soul song? How does a what's going on go with the narrative of a who shot you? Blues songs had stories, and stories weren't necessarily the happiest stories on earth. They weren't. Those songs weren't written. Most of those songs weren't written by Walt Disney at Disney World or whatever. They were like they were written under some serious, some deep conditions. And our vibe was, let's connect the dots. And it started off unscripted. It wasn't like, we had this, that, or the other. We just had a dialogue, and we had to set out to find the right you have to search, man. You have to go, okay, where do you start? And then the starting point came from like, okay, there's a lot of different styles that's going on. There's dubstep and trap and all these different things that were going on. And, some things might be new to people here right now, but man, that stuff has been out in England for years. How do you make the connection? How do you find blues and those kind of songs and elements? And how do you use those components to make stuff kind of work? And that's what we did. We said, let's connect rock, funk, soul, and, to some blues, hip hop, R&B, metal, punk, just songs with just, that's just narratives, just, spoken word and stuff. How do we put that how do we start a narrative, and how can we find a way how we can start a narrative, but how do we get to a point where we can get a result by having some sonics that represent what we're trying to do? And we pulled it off. I mean, it's like you can hear from the time you put the record on to the time it ends. It's like a story. You can hear the narrative. You can hear, in a sense, the story. It's a sonic lesson of connecting the DNA of music, and that's really all it is. And we didn't set out to wave a flag, but I'll tell you, I worked my ass off, Andre and the band, to get to that. It took a while. It took some, time, but chopping files up, moving this around, a lot of post-production. So I don't mind saying it now so that it can hit the universe. But it's not an I thing, it's a we thing. We all did what we had to do. But Andre Betts is genius. He's an old friend and a great person. He is very patient. And it was the combination of people that we had that was a push-pull. And it took a while because of this energy going back and forth between traditional living color and going into something that everybody's not familiar with. And, well, not everybody, but let's just say, what's going to be best for what we're trying to do right now. Do we keep going back and making remix versions or another version of Cult of Personality? Or do we try to push the envelope and go and move and go further down the field into the land of the unknown? And I choose that. I don't want to look in the rearview mirror. I'd rather look straight out the mirror and go forward. And then I don't mind hearing things and having a conversation about what was going on. But I'm about, look, keep moving, keep pushing, keep going straight ahead. And if you can find a way how to do things that you're not comfortable with, and you can listen, then you can get some great results. But if you're stubborn, if you stay stuck into this kind of a certain world, then you can find yourself very happy at one point and very disappointed at another, and that's just ego. But what we did was we managed to find a way how to let the egos run free for a while, and then put it into a blender, and then at that point get some sort of order in place to try to find a way how to put this project that became a record together. It was not easy, but it took time. We took our time. and we didn't panic, and we came up with a great record. So I'm very proud of Vernon, Will, Corey, and I, and the whole team. But mainly Andre Betts, gold star on the forehead. We could not have made this record without him. No way.
Awesome, man. Well, yeah. Well, congratulations. It's a killer record, and looking forward to hearing some tracks from that on the upcoming tour, and of course, the highlights from Vivid and the whole back catalogue. So, man, I know you've got other press to do, so I need to let you go. But Doug, thank you so much for your time. It's been awesome to
You're welcome.
Meet you and have a chat. And we'll see you in December.
All right, brother. Take care, man. Thank you.
Thanks, Doug. See you, man. All right, there you go, Doug Wimbish, and he will be touring Australia in December 2018 with Living Colour on that 30th anniversary of Vivid tour, plus other selected hits, and I hope they're playing a bunch of stuff off the new record, Shade, because it's such a killer record, so check that out too. All right, thank you for joining me on the Guitar Speak podcast. Remember, we're on Facebook and Instagram. You can subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts or Stitcher Radio or iHeartRadio. Lots of ways to connect with the show. You can email us at guitarspeakpodcast@gmail.com. And we've got a discussion board on Facebook. It's called the Guitar Speak Forum. You're most welcome to check that out too. We talk about the show and all sorts of guitar stuff. It's kind of a cool guitar hang there. All right, it's time to go. You've been listening to the Guitar Speak podcast. My name is Matt Wakeling. Thanks so much. We'll catch you next time. Bye now.